Which feature of the Azure portal allows you to group related resources for easier management? Azure Resource Groups. B. Azure Virtual Networks. C. Azure Subscriptions. D. Azure Policies. The correct answer is A. Azure Resource Groups. Azure Resource Groups allow you to group related resources for easier management, deployment, and monitoring. Azure Virtual Networks are used for networking, Azure Subscriptions are for billing and access control, and Azure Policies are for governance. You need to monitor the performance and health of your Azure resources. Which Azure portal feature should you use? A. Azure Advisor. B. Azure Monitor. C. Azure Security Center. D. Azure Cost Management. The correct answer is B. Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor provides comprehensive monitoring of your Azure resources, including performance and health metrics. Azure Advisor offers recommendations, Azure Security Center focuses on security, and Azure Cost Management helps manage costs. A company wants to enforce compliance and security policies across their Azure resources. Which feature in the Azure portal should they use? Azure Blueprints. B. Azure Policy. C. Azure Sentinel. D. Azure DevOps. The correct answer is B. Azure Policy. Azure Policy allows you to enforce compliance and security policies across your Azure resources. Azure Blueprints are used for deploying environments. Azure Sentinel is for security information and event management, and Azure DevOps is for development and collaboration. Which Azure portal feature provides personalized best practices and recommendations to optimize your Azure environment? A. Azure Monitor. B. Azure Security Center. C. Azure Advisor. D. Azure Cost Management. The correct answer is C. Azure Advisor. Azure Advisor provides personalized best practices and recommendations to optimize your Azure environment. Azure Monitor is for monitoring. Azure Security Center focuses on security, and Azure Cost Management helps manage costs. You need to create and manage Azure resources using a graphical interface. Which tool should you use? CLI. B. Azure PowerShell. C. Azure Portal. D. Azure Resource Manager Templates. The correct answer is C. Azure Portal. The Azure Portal provides a graphical interface for creating and managing Azure resources. Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell are command line tools, and Azure Resource Manager templates are used for infrastructure as code. A user needs to manage access to Azure resources based on roles. Which Azure Portal feature should they use? A. Azure Active Directory. B. Azure Role-Based Access Control back. C. Azure Policy. D. Azure Security Center. The correct answer is B. Azure Role-Based Access Control. Azure Role-Based Access Control RBAC allows you to manage access to Azure resources based on roles. Azure Active Directory is for identity management, Azure Policy is for compliance, and Azure Security Center focuses on security.